All right, everyone, so let's take a look at test 8, section 3. So let's take a look at question 1. So in the equation above, we want to know what is the value of x. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, the first step here is consolidating the information at the top here. So what we want to do is simplify what we're given here and then solve it for x. So the first thing to do is just add all the x's together. So we'll get 6x minus 3 minus 2 equals 7 plus 2x. And we can combine this negative 3 and negative 2, that gives us negative 5. So we get 6x minus 5 equals 7 plus 2x. And we can subtract 2x. We get 4x equals 12. X equals 3. And that's our answer just by solving this as an equation. Great, so let's go to number 2. So we're given a graph, and it says, the graph above shows the distance traveled in feet by a product on a conveyor belt m minutes. So we're relating m to d, where d is our essentially y in this case, and m is our x. We want to relate d and m as an equation. So again, to do that, we'll need 2 points on this line, and then we can find the equation in terms of d and m. So the first point I'll choose is 0, 0, and the second point I'll choose is 1, 2. So, and 1, 2. I'm going to apply the slope formula, so 2 minus 0 over 1 minus 0, so my slope is equal to 2. Then I say d is equal to 2m plus b, just like when I find the equation of a line. Then I take my 0 point again, I plug that in, so I get 0, 0, 0 equals 0 rather, because when I plug in 0, both this goes to 0, and therefore my b is equal to 0. So by doing that, I can see my final equation is d is equal to 2m. And that's clear because this also has a point at the origin beginning, so there's no y-intercept, and the slope is 2. So my answer is there. Again, so the formula below is being used to estimate, the time to complete a job, and it uses these variables. We don't really need to go into the detail with those. We just need to be able to find p in terms of all the other ones. So the first step doing that, let's write it up here, is to multiply both sides by 6 to remove this denominator. So if we do that, we get 6e is equal to 0 plus 4m plus p, divided by nothing, right? Want to find p in terms of all these. So then after that, what we'll do is we'll subtract this part. Sorry, it's not 0, it's 0, it's o. So we subtract this part. So minus 0 plus 4m, minus o plus 4m, minus o plus 4m. We get 6e minus o minus 4m. And that's our answer, because all we've done is multiply by 6 on both sides, then subtracted this chunk to get p on its own on one side. Okay, in the figure above, we know that RT is equal to TU, so this is an isosceles triangle. We want to find the value of x. So the first thing we know, since this is isosceles, right, and these two sides are equal, I'll make that note, then these two angles are equal. So these two angles are equal in measurement. So first, let's find these two angles. So of course, since the sum of all the angles of the triangle is 180, we'll take 180 minus 114. So if we do that, 6, 6. So it's 66, we divide that by 2, and we get 33. So each of these angles is a measurement of 33 degrees. Now we want to find x. So to find x, right, we need to find both this angle and then this angle here, because this angle is congruent to the opposing angle here. So to find this angle, well, we know 114 plus 66 is 180, so this has to be 66 since these are supplementary angles divided to 180 degrees. And then to find this angle here, well, we know that this angle is just 180 minus 31 plus 66, because the sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180. So to find this angle here, we'll do this math. That gives us 97 minus 180 minus 97, which is 0, 18, 17, 10. Sorry, it's an 83. So this is 83. Now to find x, well, we know that this angle here is 33, this angle here is 83. So therefore v, what v is going to be is just the 180 minus those two. So we know that, sorry, angle x is just going to be those minus those. So angle x is therefore 180 minus 83 plus 33, which is equal to 180 minus was 83. That's a 6. And that is a is 80 minus 16, which is 64. So again, all we've done here is use the fact that the sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180. Then we managed to be able to basically use that to compare angle measurements here, and then we use that to eliminate all of the other angle measurements from this triangle here, and then find x. All right, so we know the width of a rectangle is w feet. Okay, let's draw that. Length is 6 feet longer than the width. Okay, simple enough. For 6 plus w, it's 6 feet longer. Right. We want to find the perimeter in terms of w. Okay, so that's going to be 2w plus 2 times 6 plus w, 4w plus 12. Answer is B. Simple as that. All we're doing is using the perimeter formula on this. Okay, which of the points of the y-coordinates, of all the points, which of the following consists of all the y-coordinates that satisfy the system of inequalities? Well, if we want to find, okay, what y value will satisfy all of these? So the first thing we're given as well, we can find what x is because we know that 2x is greater than 5. So we can divide that by 2 and divide that by 2. So therefore, we know that x is always going to be greater than 5 halves. Right. So knowing that, we can take the 5. We know that x is always greater than 5 halves. So therefore, we know that y is always greater than whatever this side is. Right? Because since x is always greater than 5 halves, y has to be always greater than whatever 2x minus 1 is. Right? So then all we have to do is take our 5 half value, since x is always greater than 5 halves, and plug that in here. So we get 5 halves times 2 minus 1, and y is always greater than this. Since x is always greater than this, we also know that y has to be always greater than x minus 1, then we can simplify and find that quantity. So we get y is greater than 5 minus 1, so y is greater than 4. That's our answer. Again, all we did is find the 5 halves. Now x has to always be greater than, plug that value in for the x here, and then find y. Solution set of the equation above. Here we have a radical equation. The first step here is take your root 2x minus 6, plus 6 rather, and then set that equal to x plus 3 minus 4. We're going to bring the 4 over to this side so that when we square both sides, we get a simpler expression, x minus 1. And go ahead and square both sides. So we'll get 2x minus 6 equals x squared plus, minus 2x plus 1. And then you do that, you'll get x squared minus 4x, bring the 2 to this side, plus 6 plus 7 equals 0. You factor that, 4. Is that factorable? What do you think? So we'll use the quadratic formula to solve this because it is not immediately factorable. So we'll get 4 plus or minus the square root of, there's no mistake here, the square root of 16 minus 4 times, there might be a mistake here. I'm guessing there is. So let's revisit this from the beginning. Okay, so square root of 2x plus 6 equals x minus 1. Again, we square both sides. 2x plus 6 equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. Oh, sorry, there's the mistake. We'll get x squared minus 4x minus 6 minus 6 minus 5 equals 0. And we can factor that. X minus 5, x plus 1. For our solutions are x equals negative 1 and x equals 5. And that's given to us by a number of solutions. B and C are here, but first thing we have to do is see, well, do these solutions actually work? Because when you deal with the radical equation, they don't always work. So let's try x is equal to negative 1. We plug that in, we'll get square root of 4 plus 4 equals negative 1 plus 3. That's not true, so negative 1 doesn't work. We try 5, we get square root of 16 plus 4 equals 5 plus 3, and that works. So therefore 5 is our only solution. So B is our answer, not C. which of the following expressions is equal to this? So we have to divide two functions or simplify them in another manner. Okay, f of x is x cubed minus 9x. That's being divided by this thing here. X squared minus 2x minus 3. So again, the first thing we can do is factor these, right? X cubed minus 9x, factor that over here. That'll factor to x times x squared minus 9. X squared minus 9 is a difference of squares, so we can factor that as x times x plus 3 over x minus 3. If you never review that, the school difference of squares. That's the factoring of that, x plus 3. Sorry. X plus 3, x minus 3. And again, on the bottom here, we can also factor this one. This factors to x minus 3, x plus 1. Again, I'm just using factor techniques here to get these answers. Then we can do a cancellation of these two factors, and we're left with x times x plus 3 over x plus 1. That gives us an answer of D, because that's the only one in the same form. Again, all we've done is factor this and then factor this. Factor this just like you'd factor for a quadratic formula. It's like x squared. We FOIL, we can check that. X squared plus x plus 1 minus 3x minus 3. That works. Same thing goes for this one. Again, all I'm doing is that, and I'm canceling the common factors. Okay, given the equation of a circle, point P is on the circle and it has these given coordinates. If PQ is the diameter of the circle, then they want to know, okay, what are the coordinates of point Q? Like, so what coordinates here give us a distance of the diameter? So the first thing to do is, well, we know that this number here is equal to the radius squared when we're given the equation of the circle. So 16 is equal to the radius squared. So we take the square root. So we find that our radius is equal to 4, and therefore our diameter is equal to 8. So this point here, and one of these other points here, has to have a distance of, it has to make a distance of 8. So the first thing we can do here is sort of check that, right? Just kind of run through and see which one actually satisfies that. So, well, one of these has to have 8. Let's run through all our answers. So if we look at A, we get 10 comma negative 5 and 2 comma negative 5. We'll think about the diameter. This point is on the circle. Okay, so 10 comma negative 5 and 2 comma negative 5, right? The point is on the circle, we have to find the diameter. So we look at the distance here. The distance here actually comes out to 8, right? 10 comma negative 5 and 2 comma negative 5. So in this case, A is actually the answer because the distance here actually comes out to 8. So we don't have to look through any of the other answers. And so knowing that, well, diameter has to be 8, distance is 8, that satisfies it in this case. So we can move on to the next question. Okay, a group of 202 people. They're going on overnight camp trip. They're taking 60 tents. Okay, so there's 202 people total, 60 tents total. And we have the tents at different capacities, 2 and 4. Okay, we're assuming everyone goes in a tent. We want to find how many tents. So this is a systems of equations problem. So we know that we could say there's 60 tents, right? Some of the tents hold 2 people, some hold 5 people. So we can say, I guess X is a 2-person tent and Y is a 4-person tent. We know that X plus Y equals 60. That's the quantity of tents. And we know that 2X plus 4Y equals 202. That's the amount of people that can sleep in both tents. So this is the system of equations we'll have to solve. So we can do elimination. So we can do minus 2X minus 2Y equals negative 120. Right, so those 2 x's will cancel. So we'll get, we're going to add these together, right? Minus 2x minus 2y equals negative 120. So we'll get 2y equals 202 minus 120. So 2 minus 0, carry the 1 there, which will give us 2, 8, which will just be 82, right? So then y therefore is equal to 41. So y is our amount of 4-person tents. Okay, that's 41. So now we want to know, okay, how many 2-person tents are? Knowing y is 41, we just say x plus 41 equals 60, and therefore x is equal to 19. That's our answer based on the system here. Again, we formulated a system based on the data. We know that this is how many people the tents have to hold. This is the total number of tents. It gives us an answer of 19. which of the above graph could be the equation of this thing? Well, we know right off the bat that this is actually a quartic, right? This is going to be a degree 4 polynomial. The reason for that is if we look at the shape, both ends are pointing up, right? And in any case where both ends are pointing up or pointing down for that matter, you'll be dealing with an even degree. Degree is just this number here. This number has to be even. So the total number of x is this one, like in A, for example, this is x times x, that's only x cubed. So that's not an answer. So we can eliminate that. Same thing with C. X times x times x, that's only x cubed. So we can eliminate that as an answer. So now we're left between B and D, right? Since right off the bat, we can eliminate those things. We also know that there has to be a root at 0, right? That's shown here in both because x squared, if you set this equal to 0, then x squared be equal to 0, and x plus these would all be equal to 0. One of them would be equal to 0, so that doesn't really help us too much. And now the last thing to do is, okay, observe where the x-intercepts fall. So we have an x-intercept at -3 and we have one at 2. What that means is that this will factor to something with an x minus 2 equals 0, because then that'll give x equal to 2, and something with an x plus 3 equals 0, because that will give us x-intercept as -3. So when we have it like this, x minus 2 times x plus 3 times x squared, that's going to be our equation, equals y. Because when you set this equal to 0, these will simplify and give us the x-intercepts we're looking for. So this turns out to actually be b, right? And the reason it's minus is because when it's minus, you set it equal to 0, you'll get a plus, and so on and so forth. This is how you find the x-intercepts and set it equal to the equation here. Okay, so if 2a over b equals 1/2, then what is b over a? Well, I guess the first thing we can do in this kind of problem is invert it, right? We can take the reciprocal of both sides. So if we flip the fractions on both sides, we get b over 2a equals 1 over 2. It's perfectly legal. Then we just multiply by 2 to cancel out the 2 on that side, 2. So we get b over a equals 1/2. I'm not sure that's the correct way to do it. Let me approach it different, because I'm not sure that 1 shows up as an answer choice, so it's possible I'm making a mistake here. Okay, let's cross multiply. So we get 4a equals b, right? And therefore, b over a equals 4. Yeah, that's a better way to do it. So what we'll do is we'll cross multiply, and then we will find the answer that way. And since b over a equals 4, the answer is D. The first process is not going to work in this case. Okay, oil and gas production in a certain area dropped from 4 million barrels in 2000 to 1.9 in 2013. Okay, we're assuming it's a constant function, so it's a line. We want to model, okay, what's T years after 2000? So we'll consider 2000 our sort of 0. Okay, so we're starting at going from 4 million barrels to 9 million. So if we graph that, right, 0 is like our 2000, and we're going from 4 is our y-intercept there, and we're going down to 1.9 in 2013. So it's a 13, and that's 2013, and it's dropping down to like a 1.9. That's what our line's going to look like. Continued. So knowing that, well, we know that all of these has it. We know that, first of all, we know that this has a negative slope, right? Because it's decreasing as we look at the slope here. It's decreasing this way, so we can rule out all of the positive answers. And now we just have to find the equation using a couple of these points. So the question is it 21 over 130 or is it 19 over 130? Well, the first point we have is 0, 4. Second point we have is 13, 1.9. We just do 4 minus 1.9 over 0 minus 13. That gives us a 2.1 over 13. Of course, that's negative. Multiply that whole thing by 10, and you get 21 over 130. And of course, that's negative. Therefore, the answer is C. Right. So you can actually rule out a lot of these answers just by drawing a graph. 14. How many solutions are there to the system of equations above? Well, I guess we have to look at what these are. First thing I'll do is get this into a different form. So we get y equals 5x minus 8. All I did was bring these over to this side so we can see that this is a line. Okay. How many solutions are there? No solutions, 1 solution, or 2 solutions? Well, we have to do here is we have to look at both equations kind of loosely. So we have this quadratic, and we have this equation of a line. So I'm just going to graph them loosely just to kind of get an idea for the function. So we have a -7 and a -8. So there's a -7, there's a -8. their y-intercepts. We can factor this quadratic up here. We'll get x x plus 5 times x minus 2. So there's a 2 here. And there's a -5 here. So it looks something like that. It's not perfect. It'll be good enough. Then we have a -8, so we'll go up to 3 over 1, something like that. So we're -8, we'll go up 5, and then we'll go over 1. I'm not sure this is going to give us the best idea of it. So why don't we try solving for x? Because I'm not sure we can get a more precise graph on the actual exam. So if we solve for x just by using the system of equations method, what can we get? So we can isolate x from this equation, or isolate y rather. So we isolate y. We got y equals 5x minus 8. Okay, then we can plug in 5x minus 8 to this side. So 5x minus 8 equals x squared plus 3x minus 7. X squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. X plus 1, x minus 1, x plus 1 equals 0. So x equals 1, right? That tells us that there's only going to be one y value. Since there's only one solution to this is a perfect square we just factored. And there can only be one y solution. So therefore the answer is C. So all we did was we started solving this. We found that there's only one x value. The reason there's only one x value is because x plus 1 squared equals 0. We take the square root of both sides, we're just left with 1. Sorry, it's a -1, but similar idea. Okay, let's move to the next question. Functions are defined above. What is the value of h of 0? Okay, well, h of 0 simply equals 1 minus g of 0. Now all we have to do is find g of 0. G of 0 equals 2 times 0 minus 1 is -1. So we have 1 minus a -1. That's 2. Simple enough, just following the rule here. Okay, question 16. If a is the solution to this and a is greater than 0, then what's the value of a? Well, we can solve this by factoring. So we can make our parentheses here. We'll get, since there's a -12 here, x minus x plus 4, and then an x minus 3. And the reason for that is because when we FOIL this out, we'll get x squared plus a 4x minus 3x minus 12, and that will give us an x here. So all I'm doing is sort of making that judgment in my head. Well, we need two things that'll give us a positive x here and a -12. So set this equal to 0, we get this equal to 0, we get two solutions, x equals 3 and x equals -4. Okay, knowing that, we just want the solution that's greater. So we'll take the 3. Oh. Sorry about that. Solution is going to just be x equals 3. So the solution is 3, because that's the positive one. We can add these and then we'll get another one, ax squared plus bx plus c. And we want to find the value of a plus b plus c. So the first thing we can do is add them. So adding them term by term, I'll just do it here. 3x squared plus -2x squared, that's going to be an x squared. 7x plus x, 8x. 31 minus 8, do that right here. 31 minus 8, it's 2, 11, 3, 23, plus 23. A plus b plus c, ax squared plus bx plus c. There's a 1 here, make an invisible 1. We just sum up all these constants. We get a 9 plus 23 equals 32. That's our answer. Just simple enough. You add them, you find the value of the constants in front of the x's. Okay. If some ordered pair satisfy the systems of equations above, what is the value of y? Well, we can add these together and we can find y, right? This is a simple one. So we get, what we have to do is add these, right? We add them, the x's cancel. We get 4y equals 6.5. That means 40y equals 65. We just do 65 divided by 40. 65 divided by 5. It's 13, so we get 13 over 8. I kept it right. Sorry, there's a mistake here. It's not 4y equals 6.5, it's 4y equals 6, right? Because when we subtract out through we get 6, so y is equal to 6/4, which is equal to 3/2, which is equal to 1.5, or 3/2. So this is an acceptable answer, and so is this, right? Just by eliminating these x's here. Okay, a startup company opened with 8 employees, and the company's growth plan assumes that 2 new employees will be hired every quarter. Okay, so they're starting with 8. So if we had an equation y equals mx plus b, that models the growth as a positive line, right? The y-intercept is 8, because at 0 they have 8, so it's y equals mx plus 8. I guess that's the answer to the question, because they're asking what is the value of b. Well, we don't need to do any other work here because they're telling us what the value of b is, right? Whatever happens here, this is just telling us about the slope. And so the answer, therefore, is 8. I guess it's just reading the problem carefully and identifying that detail. Okay, the figure is not drawn to scale. What is the value of x? So we know that the length of arc BC is 2/5 of the circumference of the circle. What is the value of x? So BC is 2/5. Okay, so we know that angles are proportional to whatever basically area they cut out. They're equal because the circle is 360, the angle is also 360. So they're representing the same thing. So now we just have to find 2/5 of 360. Doing that should be simple enough. We'll just get 720 and we'll divide that by 5. 720 divided by 5. Goes in 1 minus 5, you get 2. Bring down the 2. Goes in 4 minus 20, bring down the 2. 145 times. No, 144, sorry. That's a 4. It's my error. 5 to 4 is 20, minus 20, get 0. So the answer here is therefore just 144. That's 2/5 of 360. The angle is equal to whatever it's carving out. Answer 144 degrees. Right, so that's the end of this section. We'll move on to section 4.